Hi everyone, this is Sairani Bora from Golaghat, Assam. Today I am going to explain about gait and some common abnormal gait. Hope you will like it, and I will explain this through some PPT. Let's begin the session.
Let us start today's topic, that is the most common gait analysis on specific conditions. I am going to explain this topic through three major parts of, that is introduction, normal gait analysis on specific conditions. Okay, now let us come to the introduction part. Actually, what is gait? We can say simply as a gait is the walking pattern. Walking is the simple act of falling forward and catching oneself. The normal human gait basically requires a normal biomechanical functioning of the musculoskeletal system as well as the limb and the spine. And the gait can be defined as the translatory progression of the body as a whole produced by coordinated rotatory movements of the body segment. Now, what is gait cycle? It is the time interval of sequences of motions occurring between two consecutive initial contacts of the same foot. And in a gait cycle, one foot is always in contact with the ground, and there are two periods of single leg support and two periods of double leg support. And the gait cycle is a description of what happens in one leg. And we can say in gait cycle responds two successive events of the same limb, usually initial contact of the lower extremity with the supporting surface. Now comes to the major tasks of or functioning of the gait. It is described by Winter. He described 5 points about that function of a gait. First is maintenance of support of the head, arm and tongue, that is preventing collapse of the lower limb. Second is maintenance of upright posture and balance of the body. Third is control the foot trajectory to achieve safe ground clearance and gentle to landing. Fourth is generation of mechanical energy to maintain the present forward velocity or increase the forward velocity. The list, that is the fifth one, is absorption of mechanical energy for shock absorption and stability or to decrease the forward velocity of the body. Okay, now comes to the gait cycle. As I say that gait cycle spans two successive events of the same limbs. During one gait cycle is extremity passes through two major phases, that is the stance phase and the swing phase. The stance phase makes up about 60% of the gait cycle, whereas the swing phase makes up the remaining 40% of the gait cycle. In the picture you can see what is stance phase and the swing phase. It is described so nicely. We can categorize stance phase into 5 subcategory events and then the swing phase into 3 subcategory events. Now comes to the stance phase. Actually, what is stance phase? When some part of the foot is in contact with the ground. You can see in the picture that is here that the foot is contact with the ground. The right here the picture is shown the gait cycle of the right foot, and this is the 5 subcategory of the stance phase, so that we can call or we can describe the stance phase as when some part of the foot is in contact with the floor. It is called the stance phase. Okay, it has 5 subcategories, that is the initial contact, which can also call as heel strike, loaded response, which can also call as foot flat, mid stance, which is also called as single leg sub stance, terminal stance or heel off, pre-swing or toe off. Now comes to the initial contact. You can observe the photo or the figure from which we can describe what is actually stance phase or the initial contact in stance phase. Actually, initial contact can be described as the phase in which the foot of the landing extremity strikes the ground, and it is the beginning of stance phase when the heel contacts with the ground. Okay, now what is actually foot flat? In the name also it is described what is actually foot flat. That is, it is the point at which the foot fully contacts the ground mid stance. 30% of gait cycle is covered by the mid stance, and it is the point at which the body weight is directly over the supporting lower extremity, and a heel of 40% of the gait cycle is occupied by the heel of, and it is the point at which the heel of the reference extremity leaves the ground. And toe off, 60% of the gait cycle is the toe off, and it is the instant at which the toe of the foot leaves the ground. Usually it is about 60%.
Swing phase can be described as the events in where the foot is not contact with the floor. It makes up the remaining 40% of the gait cycle. The events in swing phase are three, that is the early swing phase or initial swing phase, which is also called as acceleration, mid swing, and the last one is late swing or terminal swing or the deceleration. Initial swing occurs in the beginning of the swing phase, that is, the toe leaves the ground and continues until mid swing, or it is the point at which the swing extremity is directly under the body. We can see the initial swing phase, mid swing phase, terminal swing phase in this picture nicely. And second one is the mid swing phase, in which it occurs approximately when the extremity passes directly beneath the body, and from the end of the acceleration to the beginning of the deceleration. Last, that is the third one, is the late swing phase. It occurs after mid swing when the limb is preparing for the heel strike.
Now comes to the gait terminology. Actually, what is variables of gait? Variables of gait is essential quantitative information about the gait, and there are two basic variables which provide basic description of human gait, and we can divide the variables into two categories, as you can see in the table, that is temporal variable and distance variable. Temporal variable is always related to the time, and distance variable is always related to the distance. Okay, and this variable can be affected by some factors like age, gender, height, size and shape of bony components, muscle strength, joint mobility, habit, psychological status, etc. And now comes to the temporal variable, stance time. Okay, what is stance times? Stance time, it is the amount of time that elapses during the stance phase of one extremity in a gait cycle. Okay, now the what is single support time? That is the amount of time that required during the period when only one extremity is on the supporting surface in a gait cycle. And double support time, the name also described this is as it is the amount of time spent with both feet on the ground during one gait cycle, and the percentage of the spent of the double support time will decrease as the speed of the walking will increase. Okay, now what is step time or step duration? The amount of time spent during a single step is the step duration. Okay, now what is actually cadence? Cadence is most very much important. That is the number of steps taken by a person per unit time. We can describe the cadence or measure the cadence as the number of steps per unit time or a second. Now it comes to the stride length. It is the linear distance from the heel strike of one lower limb to the next heel strike of the same limb. And what is step length? It is the linear distance from the heel strike of one lower limb to the next heel strike of the opposite lower limb. You can see in this picture what I am describing you. You can observe in this picture, so you can understand better and difference between the step length and stride length. And what is we can define the stride duration also. It is the amount of time takes to accomplish one stride. Okay, now here it is shown the degree of toe out also, right? You can see the right foot angle and left foot angle, which is called as a degree of toe out, and it can be defined as the angle of foot formed by each foot's line of progression and a line intersecting the center of the heel and second toe. Okay, for man is normally 7 degree, and degree of toe out decreases as the speed of walking increases in normal man. And speed of gait is referred as normal, free and fast. Free speed of gait refers person's normal walking speed. Now gait analysis. Okay, kinematic gait analysis and kinetic gait analysis. Kinematic gait analysis is described by the movement pattern without regard for the force involved in producing the movement. It can be qualitative or it can be quantitative. And kinetic gait analysis determine the force that are involved in the gait. Analysis of gait can be done through observational method, like through naked eye examination, photographic method, through television, video, movie analysis, force plate study method, ground reaction force method, electromyographic study, which is also called EMG, electrogoniometric study. All of us know that goniometry is used for the measuring the joint movements. Now energy expenditure or required method, multisentinel functional electrical stimulation method, which is also short form as MFES. Now comes to the abnormal gait. Abnormalities in gait can be due to some neurological problems, muscular problems, length discrepancy problems, joint or muscle limitations problems, like pain problems. So we categorize all the abnormal gait into neurological gait, muscular weakness gait, leg length discrepancy gait, joint or muscle limitation gait, and pain gait. Now forwarding with neurological gait. It is due to some neurological problems, and it can be categorized in different neurological gait, as well as the Parkinsonian gait, hemiplegic gait, ataxic gait, scissoring gait. Now what is hemiplegic gait? It is also called as the hemiparetic gait or circumdictory gait. In hemiplegic gait, hip will be in extended position and adducted, and it is always in internally rotated. While walking, knee will be in extension position and ankle in drop foot with ankle plantar flexion and eversion. And there is no reciprocal arm swing, as arm is in adducted towards the body, arm is flexed and wrist is also flexed. Sometimes it is also referred as neurogenic or flaccid gait. Now Parkinsonian gait. It is also called as fascinating gait. You can see the picture, the Parkinsonian gait. The Parkinsonian patient posture is always like a stoop posture, in which the neck will be in flex position, as well as the trunk, hip and knee will be also in flex position. It is due to the rigidity, and because of this posture, center of gravity will falls anteriorly. Again, there will be a short rapid steps at a time. And in Parkinsonian gait, there is lacking heel strike and toe off, loss of arm swing and pelvic rotation. And this type of fascinating gait is commonly seen in Parkinson's disease, Wilson's disease, cerebral atherosclerosis, etc. conditions. Now, what is ataxic gait or drunken gait? From the name, you can observe or you can guess that drunken person can't walk in a straight line, so his balance will be lost. There will be poor sensation or lack of muscle coordination in ataxic gait, as well as a broad base and a irregular, jerky and waving gait is present. The patient watches the feet while walking. You can observe in the picture the children is walking by watching his feet. Cerebral ataxia, stagger and all movements are exaggerated. Sensory ataxia, it is slap the ground while walking. This is the difference between two ataxia as well as while walking. Cerebral ataxia, the walking movements are exaggerated, but in sensory ataxia, slap the ground while walking, because she can define how much depth is present in the ground or not. Now comes to the scissoring gait or spastic gait. The gait is looks like a scissor. You can observe in the picture as well. Rigidity and excessive adduction of the leg in the swing phase. Okay, now and while walking, hip in adducted and internally rotated position. Knee will be in flex position, and ankle is always in plantar flexion while walking. And it is because due to the paralysis of hip adductors muscle is seen. Commonly observed in plastic paralysis or paraplegia. Muscular weakness gait. It is seen due to the weakness in the muscles function or improper in the muscle function. It can be of gluteus medius gait, gluteus maximus gait, quadriceps gait, high stepping gait, genu recurvatum gait. Now, gluteus medius gait. It is also called as Trendelenburg gait. The action of the gluteus medius is the hip abduction. If there is a weakness of the hip abductors muscles, this type of gait is observed. Here, trunk shift over the affected hip during stance and away during the same phase of the gait. If there is a paralysis of the gluteus medius muscles in the both sides, it results in dark walking, which is also called as waddling gait. You can observe the gait pattern in this picture. Gluteus maximus gait. It is also called as rocking horse gait. You can see the patient position. As we know that the action of the gluteus maximus is the extension of the hip. If there is a weakness or paralysis of the extensor muscles, this type of gait will be observed. Here, posterior tilting of the hip will be observed. As there is posterior tilting of the hip, center of gravity will shift towards the stance hip. In walking, forward and backward movement of the trunk will be observed. Now, this is the quadriceps gait, which is also called as hand to knee gait. A quadriceps muscle can be injured due to nerve neuropathy, reflex inhibition, and 3-degree trauma strain. Compensates in the trunk and lower leg. Knee hyperextended with ankle plantar flexion will be observed in this gait, and the patient will stabilize the knee by leaning on the affected side and pressing over lower thigh by ipsilateral hand. You can see the gait pattern and the pressing over the thigh by the ipsilateral hand in this picture so well. Now high stepping gait and foot drop gait. This gait is commonly seen due to the weakness in the dorsiflexor muscles. Here the person will lift the knee higher than the normal to avoid dragging the toes against the ground. There will be lack of heel strike in stance phase where the toes touches the ground first. Now Zenu recurvatum gait. Zenu recurvatum gait is commonly seen in the poliomyelitis patients. It is due to the weakness in the hamstring muscles. In mid-stance phase, knee goes to hyperextension due to lack of contour effect of the hamstring. Leg length discrepancy gait. In this gait, there will be a certain length of one leg. You can observe in this picture, that is the left side of the leg is shortened than the right side of the leg. During this stance phase of this gait, pelvic dip to the shortened side, and there will be toe walking in the affected side because they will try to touch the ground, and we will observe opposite side leg will increase its hip and knee flexions as to reduce its length. Now most common gait, that is the painful gait, limping gait or sciatic gait, or we also call as antalgic gait. It is due to pain anywhere from foot to hip. The patient will avoid bearing weights on the affected side while walking. In the walking, there will be reduction in stance phase, and there will be shortened step and stride length. There will be shortened reciprocal arm swing. In this gait, we will observe increased velocity of swing, as well as it is commonly observed in osteoarthritis, fracture and tendinitis patients.
Now comes to the joint or muscle limitation gait. It is due to the improper function of the muscles or joint. It can be of various types of gait like equinus gait, calcaneal gait. Equinus gait, it is also called as toe walking gait, as it is nicely shown in the picture. The person is walking in toes. This childhood gait is seen with clubfoot. Clubfoot is also called as a Talipes equinovarus. All of us know it. Weight bearing on the affected limb is decreased and a limp is present during this gait. Next one is the calcaneal gait. We are observing in this picture as the person is walking on the heel. It results from the paralysis of plantar flexor causing dorsiflexor contracture. The person will walk in the heel, and due to this, during the stance phase, there is a greater amount of knee and dorsiflexion. As well, there will be short step length on the affected side, and limb support duration is shortened in calcaneal gait. This is all about my today's topic. Hope you understood, and thank you once again.